The entire video last week, I was biting my tongue trying not to say something. And I couldn't say it because I needed to let the thought sit with me a little bit longer. Because the process behind these videos can take anywhere between, a day to a week to a couple months even. And so while I was kind of prepping the subject of last week, I listened to an interview, and the interview was about something completely different. But the person being interviewed was an author named Anne Lamott. I think that's how you say it. Anyways, she said a quote that hit me like a freaking train. And I don't know if it hit me hard because I was preparing for the video about non-attachment and surrender. But anyways, the quote was, "Expectations are premeditated resentments." And like I said, that just hit me like a train. And I don't know if that was because I was preparing for that video, but let's think about that for a second. So, expectations are premeditated resentments. So whenever you place expectations on a person or a place or a situation, you are premeditating or planning to resent that person, place, or situation. So last week's video was all about non-attachment and surrendering the ego. And I feel like this quote that I just read epitomizes that idea. Because if you think about it, the ego is driven by fears and anxieties and the desire for certainty. And so when we are asleep or unaware or non-mindful of the way we are living, the ego is usually in the driver's seat. Like it's got its hands on the steering wheel. And when it's doing that, it's trying to calm those anxieties. It's trying to make the uncertain things in life certain. And so the ego, in its desire for certainty and its discomfort for uncertainty, sets plans or sets expectations to feel like it's in control and to set up the narrative. But the problem with that is as soon as you set expectations, according to this quote, you are setting up a perfect scenario for blame. And blame leads to resentment. Resentment is when you harbor ill feelings towards a situation, a person, or a thing. And resentment just eats at a person. I think everyone knows that person that has a lot of resentments in their life, and they're just not fun to be around. They hold grudges. They're negative about people or just life in general. And they just have poor mental health because they're holding on to ill feelings. They're holding on to their resentments. So as it is with pretty much any spiritual practice, there's always going to be a shadow side to whatever we're trying to do. And so the shadow side to this, at least in relationships, could be that a person is like a doormat, in the sense that people just walk all over them because they have no expectations as to how they should be treated by people they're in relationship with. And that is not the healthy way to practice this idea of not setting expectations. And so a healthy practice of setting expectations in relationships is more like boundaries. Because if you think about it, boundaries are just expectations, but the key difference is that boundaries are explicitly stated and agreed upon by everyone involved. Because I think that's the problem with expectations, is oftentimes they just go unspoken. So if I'm going to try and summarize this quote about expectations being premeditated resentments, it's that when we set expectations, we are creating a false reality, one that we have no control over. And we hold ourselves, other people, other things, situations, we hold all of those hostage to this false reality. And it's not fair for us to even do that to ourselves because we do not have control. The ego likes to think we have control. The ego clings to the illusion that we have control. But that's the problem with all of this, is that we are not in control. And when we are not in control and we create false realities and hold our happiness hostage to those expectations, we're setting ourselves up for resentment. And resentment leads to a crappy life. It leads to suffering. And so, trying to summarize in tandem with my last video was all about non-attachment and surrendering the ego. Just remember that resentments keep you in the past, expectations keep you in the future, and what we need to do is to let go of that, let go of what the ego wants to control, and to embrace what is, to surrender the ego to what is, and be here now, live in the present. I mean, absolutely make plans for the future and definitely learn from your mistakes in the past. But do not cling to those expectations. Do not cling to your resentments and to the past. Be here now, be present, because that is the only thing that is real, is the present moment. And that sounds so cliche, but that's ultimately what I feel like the last two videos have boiled down to for me. So next time you catch yourself setting expectations, remember that expectations are premeditated resentments. And if we can transcend the ego, we will resent less, and therefore we will suffer less. And through that, we can find greater peace and fulfillment in life by embracing what is. Okay, hold on, say that again. So tell me your name.
My name is Will.
Will and?
Dave.
Dave. Thanks for agreeing to do this. What were you saying about expectations?
The greater the expectations, the greater the disappointments.
That's fantastic. I actually shared a quote from an author. Her name is Anne Lamott, and she said, expectations are premeditated resentments.
Yeah,
So
that same ballpark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you were saying something about expectations in old age.
Well, my expectations are to get to 85.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. I don't want to take up any more of your
That's
time,
okay.
but
Yeah, you have a nice
Hey,
day.
keep doing a good job, man.
hey, thanks. Have a good one.
Have fun.